like to explain to you what we do, why we do it, and why it's important for me personally, for us as a company, and also we hope for you as a community. So today we're launching HollandHub. HollandHub is three things. It's a platform for sharing innovation, business, and culture between the Netherlands and Ukraine. So why is this thing important for me personally? I am Ukrainian myself, raised and born here, living in Kiev for 15 years. And now I call myself Dutch in the head, Ukrainian in the heart. I started business in the Netherlands 5 years ago, moved over there 3 years ago. And I still have to come back to Kiev quite often on business to see my family. And I get a love and hate relationship with Kiev. Seeing Kiev in shape it is today, I'm getting a lot of pain in my Ukrainian heart. So I started to think, how could I make a difference? Why is it important for us, Mokot, as a company? Well, immediately I started to see opportunities in different places. So I thought, why don't we bring the innovation from the Netherlands and just implement it here in Ukraine? And this is, well, long story short, this is how we came up with HollandHub. But then we realized that HollandHub needs to serve the community first, because we have a team in Kiev, and for us as a company, it's important to show that we care for our employees. We want our employees to live in a better, safer, and healthy environment. In this way, we want to make a difference. For us as a Dutch company, it's important to show the values to our employees, the values which are sustainability and social responsibility. Why we hope it is important for you as a community. We can bring the best out of the Netherlands. We have a lot of connections. We can bring best speakers, we can bring best experts, we can bring technology, but we need bright people behind us. We need bright people who are ready who care to make a difference. Our main challenge here in Kiev is to innovate minds of people living in the city and also working in the city. We really hope you're ready for this. But why Holland? Why the Netherlands? What do you know about the Netherlands? So my favorite Dutch saying is that God created Earth, the Dutch created the Netherlands. It's a country based on the principles of constant innovation, constant development, and making things more and more efficient. On this picture behind me, which is barely visible, you see Maasland Barrier. This is an amazing, super cool engineering project, a construction that is intended to protect the Netherlands from the sea. And by HollandHub, we would like now to open up this barrier for you and to streamline all this knowledge and experience from the Netherlands to us in Kiev. So to get a bit more information about the Dutch innovation culture, I would like to welcome on stage Mr. Oosterwaar, who is the Deputy Head of Economic Affairs in the Ministry of the Netherlands. We need this thing.
But then I'm attached to you.
Well, we can disengage.
All right, let me see whether and how this works best. For now, like this, but I'll need my bag for one thing, which you will find out very quickly. So, let's see first of all how this thing will work. This, and then a clip. Maybe like that is better. Do you hear me? Is it at all necessary actually in a room like this?
For the online stream.
Oh, for the online stream. Okay, perfect. So you said to me is given the task to explain in a nutshell what is important to know about the Netherlands when it comes to innovation, business culture, and its potential to contribute to Ukraine. A very simple task for the 5 minutes that I was given, which is fine, and I'll gladly at least try to do a little bit of that. Because I'm short on time, I knew that I would be short on time. I first of all brought you something which you can take, or some of you can take with you later after our presentations at the very end of this session. Let me start by pointing to this stack of magazines laying somewhere there. A recent publication that we produced cooperating together with a Ukrainian, international Ukrainian magazine called Business Ukraine. And this edition is specifically on the Netherlands. It contains a lot of information about what the Netherlands and Dutch companies do in Ukraine already. It also says a lot of things about what the Netherlands embassy does in Kiev and in Ukraine wider, in various areas, in the sectors of agriculture, in the sectors of IT, logistics, and many other sectors. Also, the topic of innovation comes back in this publication, so I encourage everyone to take, or at least those who are fast enough, first come, first serve basis, to take a copy of this with you. There are some interviews here as well, an interview with our ambassador Ed Hooks, and some articles, one by my colleague from the agricultural section of the economic department, and one by myself, yours truly. So this as a basic shortcut to providing you information, but of course, not all will take that stack of magazines or a piece of that. And I thought, what is the more efficient and a nicer way of you getting to know something about the Netherlands and the topic of innovation? And then I thought, why not actually play a little quiz with you? And to test your knowledge about the Netherlands, to test your knowledge about innovation and some Dutch innovations. And in this, I think it would be fair to exclude our Dutch participants and speakers from, although I think I would be curious afterward whether you knew the answers. So if you're okay with this approach, I have a very small, very quick quiz consisting of 3 questions on innovation. So are you okay with it? Shall we start? Good. So the first question goes as follows. The Dutch are great inventors. One in particular is known by drivers around the world and has to do with the regulation of traffic. What is the invention? A, is it the speed camera? B, the red light on a traffic light? C, the traffic control? So one more time. The speed camera, the red light on a traffic light, is that our Dutch innovation, or is it the traffic control? Who says A? The speed camera. One very hesitant hand there. B? All right, a couple. And the traffic control. All right, very confident, many hands. Unfortunately, I have to disappoint the majority here. That one hesitant hand was in fact right. It's the speed camera. It was invented by Dutch rally car driver called Maus Gatsonides. It was done, it's a very, of course, obviously, a very Dutch name, pointed out very well, but he is considered Dutch in the 50s. And it was done in order to measure just how fast he was going. He did it himself to measure his own speed. And the inventor called his invention Gatsometer, referring to his own name. So the company he started actually still exists, and his grandson is running it. All right, the second question, staying on the topic of innovation, and this one is actually about something that most of you will know but may not yet associate with the Netherlands. Of course, after this game, I hope you will all associate this particular invention with the Netherlands. We do sometimes invent stuff that people are, really happy about. For example, Bluetooth. As you may know, it's a Dutch innovation, and something that most of us are using or have been using for quite some time already. But as you know, this name Bluetooth is a bit of a strange name. So I wonder whether you will be able to tell me where this name comes from. So the first answer option is, it is an old Dutch expression, those with the bluest teeth can survive the hardest times. Is that A, that answer? Or B, is the reference to the poor dental hygiene in the 18th century in the Netherlands? Or C, is it a reference to a Nordic king? So, is the reference to a Nordic king? That's the last option. B was, is the reference to the poor dental hygiene in the Netherlands in the 18th century? Or A, does it refer to the old or an old Dutch expression that goes along the following lines? Those with the bluest teeth can survive the harshest times. So who says A? Okay. B, one. And a reference to a Nordic king? Quite many. All right. So it is indeed C. Bluetooth refers to, it was invented, first of all, by a Dutchman with a very Dutch name, Jaap Hartsen. He was working in the Swedish company Ericsson, and it was named after Harald Blåtand, a Danish king. Why Blåtand, a Danish king? His important role in the Nordic context was that he connected the Scandinavian countries, and is praised for that. All right. One last question for you. Again, on the topic of innovation, again, something that is used widely. And it is another high-tech invention of the Netherlands, and everyone in the world knows it, but calls it differently. It refers to Wi-Fi. We all pronounce it differently, and I wanted to ask you whether you know whether and how the original pronunciation of Wi-Fi sounded. Is it A, Wi-Fi? Is it B, Wi-Fi? Or is it C, Wi-Fi? All right, who says A? Wi-Fi. B, Wi-Fi? Oh, I think there are some Dutch speakers here. And C, Wi-Fi. All right. I'll ask you why you chose for C.
Because it's always the unexpected version.
All right. That's maybe a good way of guessing, and because you're right. So Dutchman Vic Hayes was responsible for Wi-Fi, and he's considered worldwide as the father of Wi-Fi, or as in the Netherlands it is called still Wi-Fi. But the original pronunciation was actually Hi-Fi, or Hi-Fi, sorry, and in reference to, who does know what the reference is actually to?
Wireless.
Yeah.
Fidelity.
Exactly. Yeah, I see that there are people here who know
So
one or two.
wireless? Fidelity.
Fidelity. I see already there are some people here that know a lot about invention and innovation. So this is a way of introduction to the topic of invention, the Netherlands, and what the Netherlands has to offer to the world, including to Ukraine when it comes to invention. It is something that we in the Netherlands are obviously very proud of. It may sound a little bit arrogant, but it is a fact that the Netherlands constantly, certainly in the last number of years, appears in the top 5 most innovative countries in the world. But that is done not necessarily because the Netherlands is in itself some very, very special country, but this tradition of invention or innovation has been fostered throughout the Dutch history. It has been encouraged by both by government and the private sector, and the experts here, I believe, can tell us more about, hopefully also a little bit about the history of invention and innovation in the Netherlands, but also how it is applied today and what the relevance of it is for Ukraine and other countries. So thank you for your attention. Don't forget the stacks there. It is our real pleasure to actually be here, we as the Netherlands Embassy support obviously events like this, and we encourage interaction between Dutch experts, Ukrainian experts, between Dutch experts and Ukrainian business community, the young people. And so this event fits perfectly in the series of events that try to achieve better economic prosperity for the country. So thank you for your attention, and let us enjoy the presentation by the speakers. Yeah, you need that thing back.
So a quick introduction about our speakers, so that there is a bit of connection between the crowd. I'm local, and I will introduce all of you. Anil has been our longtime friend. Together with Anil, we have worked on some projects for Smart City Amsterdam. Anil has an incredible CV, has a lot of experience. He is a strategic advisor in the municipality of Amsterdam. Before that, he was digital director in Schiphol airport. So if you've been to Schiphol, you know it's the best airport. It's hats off to Anil. And I also love how he says I'm the one. He worked at ING before, and also I love how he says I'm the one who changed ING from blue to orange, which for Dutch people is a huge thing in their history. And then we have also Anil's colleague Thomas. And Frans-Anton Vermast from Smart City Amsterdam, an ambassador of Smart City Amsterdam, doing lots of great things, not only in Amsterdam, but also all around the world. So enjoy yourself and welcome our friends.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take a deep breath before
Yeah.
you get.
Well, you start making jokes. Hello, people at home, because we live in an offline and an online world. Thank God for that. And what a great time to be alive. Happy to be here in the Ukraine. It's my first time, and after a couple of hours here in your city, Kiev, it's amazing. People watching, please come. This is amazing vibe you can feel here. We brought some tulips from Amsterdam, some stroopwafels. We couldn't bring Amsterdam, so we brought Frans-Anton. Yeah, well, let's skip my introduction. My name is Anil. My kids are watching. Hello, Ravi, 12 years old. James, hello, 2 years old. And, well, for the ones who don't know it yet, we will get a third baby. It's news. Yeah. So wifey, it's not Wi-Fi, wifey, sorry for that. Friday was disclosure day. Well, we do it from here, from Kiev. Well, let's quit with the personal stuff. My name is Anil Balgobind. Who of you are founders, actually? We connect. We like pitching, right? So I'll start with a pitch in a minute. Some tech innovators, some entrepreneurs, venture capitalists. We have the government in front of us. Very good, front row. you know what it means with the stand-up comedians, right? You will be targeted. But anyway, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, we say in Holland. And yet, yeah, do the unexpected. That's actually the end of the story. So the one who just said, like with the Wi-Fi, the Dutch do the unexpected. Yeah, we do. But that's also one of the main takeaways I want to close off with. So you disclosed that already before I even started. We will talk about innovation programming today. And what's that? You will discover in a couple of slides. But as I promised, let me tell you something about our working environment. Yeah? The Netherlands. And what better way to describe our working environment? Because I want to pitch now. We need you. So I try with this pitch of a couple of minutes to attract you to work with us in our working environment, actually. So what better way to describe a working environment than describe your CEO, right? Several company cars, well, some company houses, and really loved by the public. We love him indeed. And our CEO, our Chief Operating Officer, our Premier, Minister Rutte. If you're watching, well, we are proud of you. And indeed, yeah, we have our company ride as well. So we have company bikes, and we share them. Well, this is our product. Of course, we also have some user experience, and we do some performance testing. And yeah, we do some smoke testing as well once in a while. A/B testing is also very, very, very popular. Yeah, well, because from a distance you don't know whether you look at Amsterdam or Rotterdam. They both end with a dam. And yeah, something about our crowdfunding platform. Yeah, the speed limits, right? Some of you said like, well, the speed limits was discovered in Holland. Also, our some crowdfunding platform is discovered in Holland. Belastingdienst we call it, and we fund our entire company with that. So we are proud of our company. We call it BV Nederland. And now back to the serious stuff. That was the end of my pitching. I hope you would like it. You'd asked for some humor. Well, this was it. 750 years back, during the centuries, Dutch people have a long-term perspective. Having a long-term perspective, thinking about vision and strategy, and bringing it back to a short-term action, that is where Dutch people are good at. The Golden Ages, if you look to a picture at the Golden Ages, you see Dam Square, one of our main squares in Amsterdam. Then you see a lot of people, a lot of different people. I've been born in Suriname, but I feel Dutch because South America, I consider like I am Dutch. You know, that's the reason I speak Dutch. I went to Holland with my parents in 1975, and I'm fully integrated to bring Holland to the next level. Yeah, we work with municipalities, we work for ministries, we work for the national police. If you're watching, hi, I'm here in Kiev, talking on behalf of you. All together, we are bringing Holland to the next level, and we can't do it alone. We discovered that already 750 years back. We can't do it alone. Having a long-term perspective, short-term action. And then, this is from Bloomberg. Well, obviously you know it. It's remarkable that we are not even on the list being the world's most innovative countries. How come? I can explain. This list is of some countries who invest a lot in technology. Science parks, universities, research, technology, and stuff like that. They have a large amount of their national income spent on technology. So they are on this list. But then, if you look to another list, yeah, and that's a list of the top 10 of the World Economic Forum, ranked out of 137 economies, you see Holland on position number 6 of being the global competitive economy based on innovation. So instead of investing in innovation, we know how to value innovation and create value out of it. And that is what we are going to talk about today. So, and you can see all these tech reports on internet, right? So just Google on WE Forum, World Economic Forum.org, and you will find the reports, because there are 80 aspects and criteria to, a selection criteria to come to this list. And I want to show you one more list, because there are a lot of studies. This is another report, WIPO, well-known organization, and also here 130 countries. And you see here, since last year, we moved up on this list to the 2nd of world most innovative economies. And that makes us proud. So that's the reason we travel a lot around the world, because we can't do it alone. We need you. We need the world. People are watching. Yeah, we know strategy, we know vision, we know how to valorize, but we need you. And that is already discovered 100 years back, that today in our current world result in these kind of rankings. And yeah, well, which is, I don't know whether you have seen it, Ukraine is also on the list. And that gives already a connection. So if you look to the categorization, well, obviously Holland is in a categorization of high-income countries. And we are on number 2, on top being Switzerland. And we all know that the chocolates from Switzerland are really nice. So, well, they're a front runner. But Ukraine as well is number 1. You are on number 1 position, how you can valorize your well, your innovation. Okay? So, what's the product? And as I said, I brought Frans-Anton together with me. We have a very good relationship where we work together for the municipality of Amsterdam. That's one of our my major clients, together with Thomas. I'm the founder of a current startup, just existing for 1 year. I will tell you about that startup, well, after Frans has done his presentation about Amsterdam and all the details about bike sharing, about mobility as a service, circularity, all those teams. As I said, we don't only work for Amsterdam, but several other smart cities in Holland, also for some ministries, and also some more in the public domain. But that will explain our role as an autonomous startup, being involved in all those strategies and reaching out for the world to connect, like we did with Slava, to connect those two worlds, strategy and execution. So Frans, I'll hand over the clicker to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anil. Like in a music piece, you have the allegro, which was Anil. Now you come down to the adagio, which is the little bit more quiet part of the presentation, and then they will fire off in the allegretto in the final. I'll just keep on clicking. Amsterdam, metropolitan area. So probably this is already a good frame of setting why we're so innovative, because we realize in Amsterdam a one-size-fits-all doesn't work. And because we have 180 different nationalities, different religious backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, so we have to engage the citizens to actually come to that next level. Amsterdam Smart City. Best and next practices and lessons learned from a global village. Anil already mentioned, think globally, act locally. And usually when you get a presentation about smart cities, it's, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to achieve that, and it's more or less like a city marketing talk. I'm also going to share with you some lessons learned, some mistakes we made. And we learned actually from our biggest mistake in the past, and that was selling Manhattan to the British. We got a beautiful piece of land back for it, Suriname, where beautiful products come from, like Anil. But after that, we had our golden age. Anil was already referring to it. We had our most prosperous time in the past. And why did we get so prosperous? Because we shared it with the world. We went to other countries, we went to other continents, and we collaborated with other people in the world to actually have that prosperity in the Netherlands. Who of you considers to come from a smart city? Zelfs even Zaandam thinks it's from a smart city. That's great. But this is one of the things. So assuming we're 50 people here, there's 5 considering themselves coming from a smart city. So 10% consider themselves to come from a smart city. Does 90% come from dumb cities? And that's the whole thing about smart cities. If you type in the definition of smart city in Google, you get over 300 definitions. So we started, and actually it's an invention of IBM in 2002 or something. And they wanted to have that vertical integrated platform in Rio de Janeiro, and they invented that name Smart City. When we started off, sorry, one step before, we're a not-for-profit open innovation platform. 2 reasons why we are outside of the government. 2008, we started off and there was no money, so we had a financial crisis. And one of the things in the Netherlands is never waste a good crisis. So we use that to actually do a new governance system, put it outside of government because we couldn't get any money from the government anymore, so we needed to get money from the private sector. And there's one thing that the private sector really hates about government, apologies, that's the bureaucracy and the red tape. They can't act fast enough. So that was one reason why we put it outside of the government. The other reason why we put it outside of government is that we wanted to do pilots and we would be able to fail. So if you have it outside of government and you fail, there's not immediate political consequences. If it would have been inside of government and a project fails, there's always a politician who will get bashed for that. So in 2008, we started off Smart City, the definition. How do we reduce CO2 emission by the combination of electricity and connectivity? In the meantime, we've evolved and we've changed the definition about 7 times. And the definition we now use is how can we make the city a more livable place for the people who work, live and play there. And even if you put it one level higher, how can you increase the happiness of the citizens? It's a lot on the concept and the context. So Smart City is not a goal on itself. You have to keep that flexibility and you have to allow for uncertainty and for failure. And learning by doing. So if you do something, you fail fast, fail cheap, but learn from it. We're now looking much more into the future about digital transformation, social inclusion. As I mentioned in 2008, we started off with reducing CO2 emission, reducing congestion, but we forgot about the people who can't even afford a car. So we have to be inclusive for the whole society. Another thing is, it's pretty strange that a lot of people are sharing their data with Google, with Facebook, but they're not willing to share their data with the local government. So we have to find a way to gain that trust back from the citizens. Last thing we focus on is ethics. A lot of machine-to-machine learning, artificial intelligence, that's one of the things. People are putting those algorithms in, people putting those rules into the machines. So, and possibly the classical example there is the former president of the United States, Barack Obama, is in an autonomous vehicle, and suddenly a child crosses the road. What is the machine going to decide? Is it going to save the life of the child, or is it going to save the life of the former president of the United States? With the current president of the United States, we all know what the machine would decide. But this is one of the things we really have to look into, and one of the foundations of a local government is, of a government in general, but a local government specifically, that you do things on a non-discriminatory way. So we have to look at that algorithms, we have to look at ethics. I'll skip this one. Residents central, as I said, it's one of the criteria for Amsterdam to engage in a smart city project is it has to improve the quality of life of the citizens. If it doesn't improve the quality of life of the citizen, it's not considered to be a smart city project, and you have to find your way somewhere else. Learning by doing, public values, Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, all other big companies, they are there to make money. There's nothing wrong with it, but as a local government, you have different definitions why you are existing. Conditions and regulations. One of the things we figured out is usually regulations come after a project. So what we try to do is to get the regulators involved at the start of a project and sometimes ask for a local and temporary regulatory holiday so we can actually do things and experiment things. Public-private partnership, that's one of the things why Anil, Thomas and I are talking together. We really need that private sector. We really need them. So the program of Smart City is this slide as well. We have the private sector for you top right, the usual suspects, Alliander, the electricity grid operator, KPN, the national telecom incumbent. We have some knowledge institutions, the Hogeschool van Amsterdam, which is the University of Applied Sciences in Amsterdam, and AMS, which is the Amsterdam Institute for Advanced Metropolitan Solutions. Again, there we have to collaborate not only with people within the city of Amsterdam, but also outside, and that's why, for example, MIT in Boston and the Agricultural University in Wageningen is part of AMS. If you focus on your city alone or on your city center itself, you're gonna sooner or later you're gonna be stuck, because you have to engage with the region you're living in. If people, a lot of people in Amsterdam work in Amsterdam but don't live in Amsterdam. So if you want to encourage the use of electrical vehicles, but you don't build or you don't encourage other cities in the vicinity of Amsterdam to build electrical charging poles, then your project won't fly. Another thing, as we said, citizen central, resident central, but also citizens engagement. That's why we have smart citizen labs. We have an organization called Pakhuis de Zwijger. During daytime, they're a commercial venue, rent out rooms, but in the evening they organize all kinds of debates that are brought up by the public, sometimes the government, sometimes the private sector. They're accessible for free, and vice mayors are compulsory to go to certain sessions in a month. We've talked a bit about strategic frameworks. If you start off with a smart city, there's always the Deloittes, the EYs, the KPMGs, the Capgeminis, the other big guys. They say, oh, we can write a strategy for you. We can have a really good strategic framework. I have the privilege to travel the world, and I've seen strategic frameworks that were actually copy-paste and find and replace sold to a city. So actually just stop talking the talk and start walking the walk. Just start in small pilots, start in small projects, see what goes right, what goes wrong, and see how you can scale it. This is what we call in our profession the Smart City Bullshit Bingo card. Usually I should hand that out before my presentation. When you cross all the squares, you can earn another package of stroopwafels. So it's important, in my opinion, to have a holistic approach. When we talk about electrical vehicles, you're not only talking about mobility anymore, you're also talking about storage of energy. So it's not that division anymore. Political leadership, vice mayors, mayors, we really, really need them to set that dot on the horizon, the long-term vision that Anil was mentioning. Oh. As I said, smart citizen labs, it can be as simple as just putting post-it notes on a wall. There was a huge problem in a certain street in Amsterdam where every day there's a market called Albert Kuipstraat. In the evening, there were just parking spaces. They were empty, loading bays, they were empty. But there was a huge problem with bicycles parked everywhere against the facades of shops and the facades of houses. So with a simple exercise like this, the people came to the solution themselves. Why can't we use those loading bays at night just to park bicycles? Very simple. And this is probably also one of my other key messages. It's not about technology. We need technology, but the technology and the ICT, it's all there. Sometimes it's just common sense. Startup and Residence program. Why invite all the big companies and they come with their rules? They like to have the vendor lock-in. It's, oh, this is broadcasted, eh? So, sorry guys. But this is what they like. I especially towards the end of the financial year, November, December, big companies, they send you a message on LinkedIn because that's what they learned in their sales training and say, oh, we've got the perfect solution for Amsterdam Smart City. Can I contact you? These are the clever guys. The not so clever guys, they come up with 3 pages of shit. And the only reason they do that is because they want to have their sales target and they don't think from the perspective of the citizen. So my first question always is, what problem are you going to solve in Amsterdam? Oh, we've got the perfect solution on smart housing. Again, what problem are you going to solve for the Amsterdam citizen? How is the Amsterdam citizen going to benefit for it? So the Startup and Residence program, it's the 5th round? Fifth round. Inviting 10 startups, they get a place in the City Hall, they get access to City Hall, they get a mentor. So, and there's 10, usually 10 or 5 or 10 themes defined, and they can work for 6 months on a certain project. One of the first things we did, we figured out lessons learned on the Startup and Residence, is that we had to create a dictionary, because startup language and civil servant language is not always matching. So when a startup company says A, that means B in civil servant language, and the other way around.
So we have just released a new call for startups.
Yeah.
And in a couple of months there will be a new call for startups as well on mobility as a service. But I make sure it will be on the HollandHub site. So please find it on the HollandHub site, and then we can leverage from there.
One of the lessons learned there, the first round was only open to Amsterdam startups. Why? We live in a global world. So then the Irish Chamber of Commerce, the Dutch-Irish Chamber of Commerce came up to us and said, why is it only open for Dutch companies? So we open it up now for the whole world. These are the 4 themes which we think are going to play a huge role the next few years in transitions. I'll speed up, Anil. Energy, mobile metropole, digital city, and circular city. Again, I mentioned an electrical vehicle is not only a form of transportation of mobility, it's also a storage project. This is one of the projects that I'm quite proud of, because electrical charging points within the public domain, where you can not only charge your car, but you can only deliver electricity back to the grid to earn money, but to shape off basically the peak, the peak out. Mobility. Again, it's not always about technology. The second call is out now that we asked on a voluntary base 100, 200 car drivers, especially people who have lease cars, please put your car aside for 1 month. Here you have a budget, and please use alternative forms of transportation. So one of the things we learned there is that people start to get different combinations, so Uber and the bicycle, or Uber and public transport, bicycle, public transport. And one of the other things that came out of the first pilot we did, when are people missing their car the most, which is at night, when there's less frequent public transportation, and in the weekends. You have a lease car. Why would you miss your lease car in the weekends? So that's another thing that we've learned from that. Anil.
Good example. This is a very good example. I was not aware that you mentioned this, but this strategy policy came out, and then from a code, data, and tech perspective, we said, okay, what can we contribute from an innovative perspective to make it happen even faster? So we developed a platform that once you delivered your car, immediately you got the budget on your phone, and you can reuse it for alternative transportation. And in the meanwhile, because it's not a bank account, we had a real-time expense management. So we saw more data, how the usage of alternative transportation went. So you see a strategy and a policy, and code, data, tech, that is what we do, to accelerate that and to make it even from this period, this digital era, where you can measure data, where you can play with it, and even put in some gamification. Somebody who has the proper behavior in the city, well, that should be more incentive for that citizen to give the right example. So that's the entire story. Well,
Yeah.
fixed.
Okay, so this is all about mobility as a service. Again, we figured out that the data that we gather from companies like TomTom and Google is much more accurate than the data we gather from cameras and from loops in the road. So only think on what the savings you can have in hard assets in a long term. There's another good project now with Google Maps, because one of the most causes of CO2 pollution in the city center is people driving around looking for a parking space. Together now with Google Maps, with TomTom, and the open data set of the city of Amsterdam, they have a model that they can actually predict if on a stretch of 100 meters, it's still in the project phase, on the canals, if there's a parking space free. Not exactly that parking space, but the probability that there's a parking space free. Another thing that's just launched, a rowboat with censoring boats. So we have the canals, they were built in Amsterdam for transportation, inner city transportation. So we try to find all kind of inner city distribution, logistics, to see how we can distribute products with a reduction of CO2 emission. Another collateral benefit of these things is if you put 10 aside, you suddenly have a temporary bridge or you have a temporary stage. So it's another thing they figured out with that. Digital, you can tell much more about it. This is something I'd like to show. We think citizens do have the right to be digitally forgotten. And one step further, which was launched last November by the City of Amsterdam, the City of Barcelona and the City of New York, is that digital rights are actually human rights. You have to make visible, you have to make it open, what data are you collecting from your citizens? What are you doing with the data? What do you do with the outcomes? And in my perspective, data are never ever owned by a city. They're owned by the citizens, and the city is just a warehouse that holds those data. Apps for Amsterdam was a competition in the past. One of the things we're looking now at is open algorithms, to have a competition, algorithms for Amsterdam. Use the expertise, use the knowledge that is in your community to improve algorithms. It's a huge and brave step to open up algorithms, because you have all kind of privacy issues, but also competitiveness. But this is another thing we're looking into now. Ethical audits, as I mentioned, is the algorithm actually doing what we think it does? So the big audit firms are invited now to do ethical audits on certain algorithms. For example, the secondary school choice, and other choices of people that go into the next step of their life. I'll leave this for now. Circular, it's not only reusing material, it's also designing material, designing houses, designing bridges, and think of it, what can we do with the material, what can we do with the product in a second, third or fourth life. Circular procurement is another part of this, and of course circular jobs. You do not have a 40-year job anymore. Some lessons learned, I promised that. Economically viable, subsidies. The problem is if a subsidy stops, the product stops. That's what the things we learned in the early ages. We put the smart city office in the environmental department. Lovely people, great ideas, environmental people, money, not a good match. It always goes wrong when the money is running out. So that's why we're thinking about investments. And as a local government, your return on investment does not always need to be financially. It can be by the reduction of CO2 emission, it can be by the reduction of unemployment. Another thing is we focused so much on tourism. Amsterdam was a huge debate, Q3 and Q4 in Amsterdam, removing the letters yes or no. And one guy made this sign. And we thought, what a crazy sign, what a crazy idea. And then we thought, okay, let's go and talk to this guy. Why is he making this sign? Why has he made this sign? He lives on a street in the city center of Amsterdam, cobblestones. He's reducing. He's kept awake during the night of all the British tourists that come and drink and smoke until 2 and 3 in the morning. And then from 4 o'clock in the morning, all these cheap tourists with their trolleys go with the trolleys because they all fly Ryanair, EasyJet, and they always fly before even the sun rises. So from that point on, we thought we have to listen to the people within the city center to see how we can solve their problems. Things go wrong, things go right. We have 70% of the projects we launched were not ready to scale for all kind of reasons. Wrong financial, wrong technical, wrong timing. But do you want to throw away all those ideas? No, just collect them on something called an innovation graveyard and assess them every 6 months to see if they're ready to scale now. And 9 out of 10, when you combine 2 or 3 projects that weren't ready to scale, you put them now together, they suddenly are ready to scale. Lovely report about lessons learned to University of Applied Sciences, why things went wrong in Amsterdam and what we learned from it. The community, I all invite you to become a member of the International Amsterdam Smart City community because we truly believe, as I mentioned with the Startup and Residence program, we do not have all the knowledge and experience. So if you ask a question, it may well be that you get an answer from Melbourne or you get an answer from Curitiba in Brazil. So I all invite you to join this online platform. This is another important thing. Political leadership is really important, but smart cities is about ecosystems and not about ego systems. Quite often you see people that are really proud of what they're doing, but they claim it with their ego. We have to have impact. We want to keep independent what we're doing and learning by doing. If you haven't made any holiday or business trip plans for 2019, we have the huge festival called We Make the City. And instead of having a conference, one venue, sending, we have now a festival divided over 100 venues over the city of Amsterdam, not only during weekdays, but especially also during the weekdays, so the citizens of Amsterdam can get involved in the whole thing. Now we're going even further speed up to the Allegretto, to Anil and Thomas.
This is how it usually works, right? 95% for strategy, vision, and 5% for execution. But we're used to that. So thank you very much, Frans. So impressive. I'm really even more proud than I already was. As I said, I'm a former executive, worked for 15 years in the financial sector, and then went in the airport sector, where one airport in Holland, our national airport, said where we are a brick and mortar company, we want to become a data-driven company, Uberization of an airport. It was quite interesting, I did that as well. And then I went out for some traveling. I traveled some hackathons in Dubai, in Berlin, in UK, in Amsterdam, and all over the world to meet the golden boys and girls like you. I had several startups. I failed big time, lost my life savings a couple of years back, and had to start from scratch again. So I know the founder is gone, I suppose. Well, there was a founder in there, so I wanted to share some hard feelings with him. It's really tough out there. Yeah? It's not easy. But once you get there to the impact, then it's really worthwhile being there. So I founded a startup again last year. It's called Bureau of Design and Digital Affairs. So And I started alone. And what we do, we are a boutique firm, as they call it. So Frans-Anton called some large companies who are, well, pretending they know all about smart cities. We usually say, we don't know it, but we walk the first mile with you to discover smart, how it works, because no city is the same. Even in Holland, that tiny little Holland, each and every city has its own characteristic. So once you discover what the characteristics are, you know how to do it again, and do it even faster, and better, and more smarter. So that's what we do. We program innovation for large organizations because everybody wants to move forward. There's no one also in this room who can convince me that he or she is not in for progress. We all do. That's how we as human beings are all. We evolve. We want to progress. So, like I said, or I always say, like digital or innovation, for me and for our company, for our boutique firm, is connected code, data, and tech to progress upon delivery. So, meaningful connected data and tech to progress upon delivery. Two words which should be considered as the most important, which are not code of data or tech. No, meaningfulness. What's meaningful for me, for you, for our citizens? Yeah? And how can we progress? Because what I saw at those hackathons, yet another pizza delivery app. Waste of skills, waste of energy, waste of all those capabilities. So I started 1 year back, and I said, I want to touch upon 1 million lives in 3 years. So remaining 2 years. And I very soon discovered that alone I could not make that fast enough. So remaining 2 years, and still the mission is there, affect 1 million lives in the coming 2 years positively. So last year we grow from one customer, Municipality of Amsterdam, to several large customers where we are proud of. Municipality of several smart cities in Holland, the National Police, the ministries, some stadiums in Holland, which is one of the biggest soccer stadiums in Holland, Johan Cruyff Arena, and more to be proud of. But most important to that, I got empowered from being alone. We went from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, from 3 to 4, 4 to 5. And I brought my co-founder Thomas, and he will tell you more about that. I speed up a little bit. What makes us special? Well, we bring energy, we are seen as the trusted advisor, and yeah, we walk the first mile, because the most difficult thing what founders face, long-term perspective, coming back to today, where should I start? With whom should I start? Which direction should I follow? The short-term action is the most difficult. And then the 999 other steps, well, you can do some project management. Still, you need some expertise, but walking the first mile is always the most difficult one. Okay, we add value. Well, this maybe to see, what I mentioned. We discovered last year, sometimes a wicked problem, is so complex, your only way out is to design your way out of it. So maybe some design thinkers and some creative in this room, or maybe broadcasters. So please feel free to join us. Well, like I said, how to transform a brick-and-mortar business model into a data-driven airport 4.0. And you can look it up. There are a lot of more brick-and-mortar companies who are dreaming about Uberization, who are dreaming about data value proposition, who are dreaming about serving you as a human being even better than Uber does, or Spotify. But they have a huge challenge because they carry history. Some of our clients carry more than hundreds of years of history, and they did good. So that's the most challenging thing, because now they are faced with doing better where they're good at. It's not good enough anymore. That's the time we live in. Remember that I said, what a great time to be alive? Only for the ones who understand that adaptiveness is key for change. Yeah. So there's no agenda, there's no Only thing is, reinvent yourself day by day by day, over and over again. That's how founders do it, okay? So I don't say like everybody's to become a founder, you know, like I can't expect that governments become founders, but the cooperation is key. Listening to each other on several levels. Like an executive, I can breathe strategy, I can read vision, I can understand where somebody's coming from. And that's key, because it's not only being a founder. I have 25 years of experience where I did my vision and strategy and had hundreds of people doing all kind of things based on those strategies. So I know where we come from. But at the other side of the table, there's an opening, a new, totally new world. Well, this is for Amsterdam. You see what you all said in 5 bullets. So, and most important thing is the team, are you, are the people. And we are still with 5, but besides the 5 people in our team, we are connectors. We have thousands of people which we can reach. People like Slava internationally, because we connect. This Hans, a real executive, retired, who works with us. Behavioral scientist, really somebody who knows how to read a brain is the most important nowadays. The techies, right, they're difficult to find, but people who know how to nudge, how to think and react on behavioral scientists. So Olga, if you're watching, Thomas, our new kid on the block, researcher, concept designer, creative. Our newest kid on the block started just a couple of days back, already shining, business model innovation associate. Myself, well, I skipped this one. Well, and then Thomas, well, you have got 1 minute.
1 minute? Oh my God. Should I have the...
Or do we have some more time?
No, we have, I guess we can take the time if you want.
Yeah.
Should I have the mic?
Oh yeah, of course.
Going on somewhere. Yeah.
You should get some more mics actually.
Thanks, Anil. So, I'm Thomas, last piece of the pie of BDDZ. And I've been working with BDDZ, with Anil, for, well, 1.5 years now. And it's been a crazy journey, as you can imagine from the words Frans-Anton and Anil are talking. And when we started working together, I always asked, so what am I going to do now? What's my role? He said, well, you'll see. What am I going to do? And you'll see. Okay. So I started walking that first mile with Anil. And maybe October, November last year, I actually thought, all right, I get it now. Because today, as you see, I'm innovation programming lead. And yesterday I was co-founder, and tomorrow I'll be a project manager. And what I want to tell you is I don't have a specific role in this company. I don't have a specific role in our projects for Amsterdam or the ministry. It's always being adaptive for the right function, the right role, in the right spot, in the right timing. And to elaborate on that, why that's important to step out of that role, I want to tell you a more personal story. I've been raised by my parents, my mom and my dad, and my mom was a professional ballet dancer. And she traveled all around the world, dancing in the most beautiful theaters. And she was more the creative part of my childhood. And my father was more of the structured guy. He was the financial director, and I learned planning from him and thinking about stuff more strictly. And I always was struggling a little bit with, am I more the structured guy or am I more the creative type? I didn't know. And actually, the moment I thought, okay, in October or November, I don't really have a specific role, so I don't really have to be the creative type, or I don't really have to be the only structured guy. And that's something you also see in projects, because we work a lot with creativity, We work a lot with UX designers, with the entrepreneurs amongst us. But we also work for the governments. We work with the more structured people. And of course, there's also the science, the researchers we need to actually validate all the things that we're making. And they don't function, well, in my perspective, they don't function or take the best out of their potential if they all work in their own role. You have to find a sweet spot. A sweet spot I found when I thought I don't have that creative or structured role. I'm the person I am, you know? And that's also the sweet spot that we're trying to find when we're working for our projects. This is where the magic happens, when you can actually step out of your role and try to take some risks. So if we're looking at the people we work with, we actually see that the people in the more strategic level of the project we talk about are actually also, they have a lot in common. They always say, they always crave for the social impact. They have a lot of experience. They have a big ecosystem, a big network of people around them. And they are system innovators. They work with the system, but they also criticize it. They see that it could be different. And with that, there comes a lot of risk, and they accept that. They're open and vulnerable. I mean, they take that risk, but they also try to say, I don't know how to take that first step, or I need the help to do this together. They have the license to operate. It's really important that they can actually make a decision to reduce the risk or to actually work towards open innovation. So that's more on the strategic level, but if you look at it from more of the makers, the doers amongst us, the entrepreneurs, the creative types, they also have a lot in common. They always need a kind of focus. Also in search for social impact. They want to make that new app that will change the world. But to do that, they need individual relevance. Like I said, I didn't know that I could be creative and structured in the same time. But with the relevance, I saw that. The excitement is really important. You need that kind of energy to actually say, I step out of my role and I will see where we're getting. And with that said, it's not only telling a story, it's literally living the story. You're not working, you're not designing from 9 to 5. Now you're actually solving a problem or a challenge every day, every minute of your life. You're not doing that alone because you're actually searching for a strong team spirit. And that also says you're searching for inclusiveness.
So, we'll change the mic again. So as you can see, what we did is we used the 1.5 year to make some flight hours, to gain some experience on the public domain. That's the reason we are here, because we believe in open IP, but not only on technology level. We believe in sharing our experience, you know, like even only one I can affect his or her life today to do what you are, well, purposed to do. Well, then our traveling here, besides the partying and stuff, would be worth it. And so that's why we give keynotes. And in the 1.5 year that we exist as a very early stage startup, we are not only have some projects which we can tell about, but as you can see, we study people we work with. Now we can categorize which sponsors and which clients we really love to work with, and which clients we say, well, we are too busy. because that's what we do. They have to convince us as a boutique firm to work with them nowadays. And we turn it around. That's disruption, right? So because we have 24 hours a day and a tremendous amount of energy, but better spend it to someone who are really open for it. So that is what was described, who is really standing for open innovation, also have the same beliefs as we do, as you do, hopefully. And in the same way, we also study the people who work with us, but also our ecosystem, people like Slava and the 60 people behind Slava and Tim. They share the same beliefs and the same values. And you see team spirit is important, fun is important, but also making impact and personal relevancy is important for us, right? Because we don't want to end up as a developer, like, oh yeah, this guy, it was a good deal. No, this guy developed and he helped thousands of people. This is how we want to be remembered. And this is value. What a great time to be alive, because, well, this thing is really... and where's the clicker? Oh, ja, ik leg hem hier even. So, sorry. So, we also have a study made of our methodology. And if you allow us for a couple of more minutes, then I'll explain you the methodology. Because we realized that not only strategy with the persons we described as a profile as the decision-making unit in innovation, but also translating and inspiring someone who can really do it, the makers, right? So we organized ourselves as the baseline. So programming innovation for us on 3 levels. You program innovation on a strategic level to derive certain strategic focus and translate it in an innovation agenda. Seems very simple, but it's not that simple, I can tell you, because you have seen the pitch of Frans-Anton. It's a lot of ambition, a lot of complexity, but translated it to an innovation agenda of 5 bullets and then organize upon that, because that's what we do. We organize innovation on the baseline. How to organize, with where to start, with whom, what will be the team build, how is the delivery culture, and we run for it, the first mile. So we understand strategy, but on the tactical level, we organize innovation. And because of all those clients, not only Amsterdam, but Utrecht, Den Haag, Rotterdam, those several smart cities, but also now a Singapore institute came to us. So, well, we want to create an airport 4.0 from scratch. Can you set us up to walk the first mile? So you see that those flight hours are really valuable now for the world to share. There's no such boutique firm who can make so many flight hours. And we learn very fast, we make it explicit, give it to the world, and it gains back. But on the operational level, you see talking design sprints, talking code, data, tech, and activate the people who can make. Don't force them to understand the strategy. It's no use. Because somebody who is, ambitious for coding and ambitious to learn more about Python, Java, full stack development, or whatever, you know, don't try to explain him or her about how vision and strategy works. It's no use. Put someone in the strength, and that's what we do as well. So, and it is not a one-time cycle. It's back and forth again, because by delivery, you can feed the strategy again, and you can have an interaction and have an agile strategy, as we call it, upon delivery. Every 1 month or 6 weeks, you can refine your strategy. So it's not for 4 years. And well, I have to tell you the truth, in Amsterdam still it works like, we had some elections in February, and it will stand for 4 years, and we have this coalition agreement, but ideally, I would say every 2-3 months, refine your strategy. Go back and forth again in this cycle, okay? So what I say, we have 4 steps. Mobilize, and I'm really impressed. I'm really honored to be here today. And Slava, Tim, wonderful job. I believe in think big, start small, scale fast. Starting small with you guys here in this audience, and the people on the broadcast. But we think big with the HollandHub, and once the momentum is there, always be ready to scale fast. That's how we founders think about it. So we already in the background do some preparations. Once the momentum is there, we will scale fast, and it will the momentum will be there, I assure you, in this way, because I'm impressed. 4 weeks back, I was sitting at my fireplace at home. I got a tremendous enthusiastic email from Slava, and usually he doesn't speak, right? So obviously there's something Ukrainian. But when we did some assignments together in Amsterdam, he delivered, together with Tim, a tremendous, fast development track, which was a mission impossible for us. He delivered an app with augmented reality with 60 people for our, well, vice mayor, and she doesn't know it yet, but he did it, they did it, through us. And within 4 weeks, for We Make the City last year, she released the app as an open innovation museum, Amsterdam. And you can walk a tour and see the innovation that Frans-Anton just talked about. You can see it through your phone, already established through augmented reality. These guys build it. So what we have seen, that these ethics can make Mission Impossible possible. But what I wanted to say, sorry for my enthusiasm, that within 4 weeks at my fireplace, he said, well, I have this wonderful idea, HollandHub. I said, oh. I read 3 lines and said, you got me in. I don't know what it is, what you are asking me, what you got me in. Someone who normally doesn't speak now has this enthusiasm about this HollandHub. He got my attention. So we traveled here and we are here. And I'm proud that I'm here, but because you made it here. So that's mobilize. Well, the Dutch embassy, I wasn't capable of reaching out to you. They did, so very good. He mobilized. The vice mayor of a city here in Ukraine is here. You are here. But then inspiration is key. Inspiration is key. And what is inspiration? You give me energy. That's hopefully obvious. And I give you energy back. That's inspiration. Yeah? So we exchange energy today here in this 45 minutes, which is now 60. But then don't stop there, because you can have stand-up comedian as well and exchanging energy and inspiration. But if you get activated, like if you know what to do, how to do it, and when to do it, and measure how you can be successful, that's being activated, hands-on. And then, well, I can say, we are here to facilitate, and I point to, or said, being on the front row, you have some responsibilities. So we are here to facilitate. Government is here to facilitate. Slava, Tim from the HollandHub, but Amsterdam as well. We are here to facilitate because that's our purpose. So I want to wrap up now, okay? Because I want to challenge you as well. I want to challenge you as well. It would be not us as Bureau Design and Digital Affairs to challenge someone back. So consider yourself as a writer of a book. Consider yourself as a writer of a book of your life. Just imagine, a book of your life. I'm writing that book for 45 years now, okay? And consider last week as the last chapter of your book, which is not yet finished. Okay, you're writing it. Building up tension. Would that chapter be worthwhile reading it? Yeah? If the answer is yes, please keep on writing and speed up and accelerate. If the answer is no, accept my challenge and think about all those decisions you take day by day by day. Which shoes to wear, whether you go to work or not. Change your work, big and small decisions. Important, not so important. You take hundreds, maybe thousands of decisions a day. Please, take a decision which is unconventional. Yeah? And within the coming 48 hours, and share that with us, and live. That's my challenge.
Well, I have to say, I speak when I have something to say. Now we're open for questions, and we have a bit of networking session around here. I want to thank you all for coming. I also want to give a big thank you to my colleagues Tim and Bas, if you're there. You're with me, buddy. They are the ones supporting me on this. So questions, networking. This is what we're here for.
Good. Heineken beer. Well, stroopwafels, Heineken beer.
Yeah.
Or do you have any questions?
No, just a practical one. Thank you very much for your performance. It was very interesting. It was very innovative. I didn't expect. My question, the only one which is bothering me very much, have you experienced touching our government, our Kyiv major city, with some propositions, or if there are any projects which is in the future could be possible?
Are you asking that to me or to Frans-Anton?
I understand you are the boss of the company you are presenting, so you probably the one.
I've been not yet clear. Within our company and the teams that I set up, we don't have hierarchy. There are no bosses. We are all peers. But also in the corporation, we are all peers. Slava told me that there is a need and an urgency here in the Ukraine to set forward and to step forward and to have progress. I just have been here for a couple of hours. So obviously, well, there might be some projects, some domains to work upon. But until so far, well, I'm just enjoying the city in Kiev and the nice food, the nice people, because that's what we already can give you back. Like, we feel really welcome from the first moment we came to the airport until every step since this afternoon. But, well, we'll see tomorrow. Well, this was the unofficial part today. And I'll skip the first part for tomorrow. Tomorrow is a formal session at the Congress, the Smart City Congress, with some formal speakers. So yeah, the first part was just like because you asked for some humor. We brought it with us in the suitcase and we put the button on. So tomorrow is the formal part, and I hope that when the formal part, and I will go a deep dive more into the how and the what we do. Today we touched upon, but I think the people here in Kiev and all the people there will be interested how we do it, and that we'll explain tomorrow. And hopefully people reach out for us. Yeah, and it can always be done through the HollandHub. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Thank you for the lecture. And can you tell about some more innovative cases in Amsterdam?
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of innovative cases. One we touched upon briefly, like what we said, the digital subsidiary platform. But one of the most, one of the cases we touched upon me the most, 1.5 years, was about child abuse. Yeah, we talk about circularity, we talk about mobility as a service, but one of the main projects in Amsterdam is that all those dossiers like mobility, circularity are given away, cool and sexy to, and we stick to the social domain. Older people, younger people who live on the streets, younger people with, what?
Lonely people.
Lonely people. It's increasing, you know, we have the good stuff told you here, but Amsterdam has an increasing number of lonely people, 14, 15 years old. And they suffer loneliness because of the pressure, digital pressure, social pressure, but also because they have a migration background and they have to perform even harder to make it happen. And they suffer loneliness. So that case, that was one of the cases, the domain, the social domain, we work for. And what?
How are you trying to solve this problem?
Yeah, that's what I was, because you see, you touch upon something, and I really want to tell you about it. That case came to us as a group, and I said, well, this is really a wicked problem. So what we did a design sprint, and then the project, which asked us for help, was already busy with it for 5 years, but they looked from it from a governmental perspective. So we looked at it with, yeah, well, outside-in perspective, and we said, okay, I cannot come up with a solution in 2 months. But what we can do to inspire you by making something. So what we made against loneliness, we programmed a robot with self-learning algorithms. And based on some behavioral science based questions, they called structured questions, within 10 or 8 questions asked, we could determine whether someone was suffering, well, with a low chance loneliness, maybe, or a high risk chance of loneliness, based on a very well thought set of questions. And that robot was self-learning. So the idea, it's a prototype, is place the robot in some open community center. For example, you could place one here at the bar or something like that. And on a very low level gamification, you could set a robot like that as a prototype to see how it works. I don't say that is the end solution, but we show and we demonstrate what digital can mean in the new world. Because studies point out that someone, a human being, don't express his or her feeling to someone else very easily. But through app, even easier, and through a non-human interface, someone expresses his or her feeling even more. Just study, research. And we use that research to come up with this prototype. This is one of the many, many projects we did. So just to inspire the municipality to see what is possible in this new world. And we just built it in 6 weeks. And, used all kind of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and, new technology in that. Yeah, okay. Please.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Anil. My name is Pavlo Zdenetsky. I represent Kyivvodokanal, Kyiv Water Supply and Sanitation Company. And I would like to ask you about your experience with Dutch water supply and sanitation companies and how Amsterdam manages water in the city. And actually now we are upgrading our digital system of control of water supply and sanitation. It's a very difficult task, and we want to learn more about Western experience in water management.
Very good.
Because it's a municipal problem.
Anil, before you answer it, you remember we told you don't drink tap water in this.
I'll pass the word to you, but WaterNet is one of the front runners in innovation and setting up agile teams in Amsterdam, and we are very proud of it. Even people from abroad, so I can say you are welcome with the entire team to come over, and I will host you to go to WaterNet to talk to the people themselves and to have a guided tour. And I'm looking to you because I depend on you to make it happen, but let's do it together. But I will do my utmost best, and please feel free to connect us through the HollandHub. But WaterNet is doing a wonderful job. What they did is not starting with improving the quality of water, but what they did is they empathized with the one using the water and tried to feel how important the common thing, what we call water in Holland. We open the tube and it's there, like we even don't think about it anymore until we are abroad, and then we are warned not to drink water. So they stepped into their world of the user, and from there they encountered that when the water was used, there was no attention. But when they had to pay for it, there was a lot of hassle, let's call it, and inconvenience. So instead of improving the quality of water, they improved that process and made it agile and developed an app. And now you get a really easy transaction and communication, and you're really helped, I think, by WhatsApp and stuff like that. So this is the first touch point with the client, and that is how they dealt with it.
Maybe if I can add one more thing, this is a very good example of a smart solution to a water problem. And of course, it's wonderful that there is a possibility to go to the Netherlands and meet with relevant stakeholders there. Should that not be feasible, there is another option which I would like to draw your attention to. You, as an expert in the field, you may be familiar with Aquaterm as an event that happens.
It's an exhibition. An exhibition,
exactly, where companies from different countries, including from the Netherlands, come and present their technology. Last year, with the help of my colleague Natalia, who is here, we managed to encourage a number of Dutch companies, specifically in this field of water sanitation as well, to come and present and showcase their specific expertise. And this year we will try to do it again. And if I'm not wrong, it will be in May again, as it was last year. So please do, next to accepting the invitation of Anil, also go to that particular exhibition. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the invitation, although I'm not a high-ranked official of Kyiv Vodokanal.
Yeah. No, but I think it's a good place to network and meet Dutch companies who already apply these innovative solutions in the Netherlands and elsewhere, and who may be also interesting for Ukrainian counterparts.
Thank you. Yeah.
No, and this illustrates exactly what happens. This is very good. You responded, "I'm not the one. I'm not a high official," but especially those influencers who went out for it. You came here, not the officials. You are here listening to us. You took the effort, and those people, for me, are more valuable than officials. And that in Holland, we all know that.
We just lost one.
Yeah. No, but we should respect the common channels. We should respect it and we should follow it. But in addition to that, use your informal influencing as well. Buy a ticket. It was just 250 euros, and get it sponsored by your employer, and come over, and we will hook you up with an Airbnb, and we will go to the Waternet and see what happens. Okay, so okay. Any more questions?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I've not really a question, but maybe some sharing, some reflecting on what I've heard. Then a quick question. So last few days in Kiev, we actually very liked that your comment about that city was welcoming and everything. Last few days, I felt that I was challenged by this city, just because of the weather conditions and all the stuff around. And walking here, not because I wanted to walk, but because it was the fastest way, not the public transport, not the car. The reflection is that from your question about who thinks would live in a smart city, I guess 5 answers were from the Dutch side, and the rest were from the Ukrainian side. So, and then I asked myself a question that you started to come to this smart city in Amsterdam or other cities in Netherlands was quite a time ago, and we also took an effort going to a smart city, good or bad. My question is whether smart city for a citizen, is it more expensive? And who takes this burden? Is it the city or the citizen? Who pays?
I'm sorry, would you mind introducing yourself?
My name is Alexander. I'm urban practitioner. I work independently.
Very good.
Yeah, I address this question to whoever would like to answer.
Do you want to pick it up?
I also think one other important question is it more enjoyable to live in a smart city? Also, if we speak about its values. Yeah, yeah.
Could be. I have an opinion, but maybe I can add my opinion to what you say, Frans.
In my opinion, it should be shared costs. It's in the end, it shouldn't be on the profit and loss of the individual citizen. And that's why one of the points I made was social inclusion. So make sure it's available for everyone. So it should be increasing the livability of a city when you live in a smart city. And that has to be financed through a collaboration between the public and the private sector. In the past, a company would come to the city and say, I'm going to sell you smart light bulbs. It will cost you 10 million and we will deploy 100 smart light bulbs. That's old-fashioned thinking. What we do now is we collaborate with the private sector and say, okay guys, you can build those 100 light bulbs, but we're not going to pay you up front. We're not going to invest in your asset. So what we do, we lease those light bulbs, these smart light bulbs, from you. And in the end, if, say for example, these 100 smart light bulbs will cost you 10 million. So instead of paying upfront 10 million euros as a municipality, you will lease it now for 120,000 euros per year. Over 10 years, you have a win-win situation. So you do not have to do the capital expenditure anymore as a city, as a municipality. And in the end, the company who actually leases out and who owns the assets earns more money than they do the one-off sales. Another thing you have to be really specific about when you do these type of deals, what are you going to do with the data collected on those light bulbs? So you have to really think through the propriety issues on those data. So on your the brief reply to your question is, it shouldn't cost more for an individual citizen to live in a smart city. But a big comma there, it's not always a financial thing. If you live in a very bad city with which is very polluted, and for €2 or $2 per month more, you can live in a cleaner city by driving an electrical vehicle, that's your own choice. So I think the choice should be there. But in the end, the bill should never ever be presented to the end user.
Yeah, thank you very much. And to add to that, and very good question actually, because on strategic level, that's what we discuss with executive, on ministry level, on governmental level, local governmental level. And I think 3 aspects. Well, start with 2, is that not thinking in a conventional way, not thinking in business cases, but value cases. And the difference is business cases consider return on investment. Value cases is how much is a lonely child of 14 worth when it's not lonely anymore. Yeah? That's another mind shift. So value cases makes it worth to set the first step, to walk the first mile. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to valorize. So that's the second one. So first, don't think in business cases, start thinking in value cases. Try to describe a value case. Second is it's a new way of valorizing science. The 3 circles Thomas told you about, there's a lot of philosophy and practice behind that. Because as we know, in the past we thought research costs money. A lot of money, you know, millions of money. Until it's applied science. So once doing things smarter, that's the second, do things smarter, not means a smart city, but all kind of technology and IoT and full, because you will end up in the first list with the 10 most innovative countries, but not the most innovative economies. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is that thinking in value cases, translating in doing things smarter. And the third one, then valorization of a public-private cooperation. And we call it consortia. That is what we do. Because we are like a boutique firm in the middle. We are autonomous. We are not government. We are not corporate. We are not a startup. We are all. So that sweet spot where magic happens, that's our company with 5 people, and we have a lot of fun with table tennis and stuff. But we are that where magic happens. We understand how to set those 4 steps. And then indeed, underlying, you have these kind of cases which, is it probably the answer which fulfills? Well, you see, I can tell a lot, and I like to do it. Yeah.
I have a question. Can you tell us some failed projects of your firm when you try to resolve some problem and then you understand that your resolve and your answer is like make more problems and you need to.
Yeah. Can we have like some small rule that we introduce ourselves when asking questions, because we really want to know who is in the audience.
Okay, my name is Maxim. I am an architect.
An architect, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you obviously, as an architect, because I like to sometimes be an architect myself, you open up one door and there are hundreds of thousands of doors behind that. Yeah, usually those are the definition of wicked problems. Wicked problems are so complex that we, of course, see you tomorrow actually. Yeah. Cheers, bye-bye. So wicked problems, the definition, what we have given to it is that wicked problems are obviously so complex that we took them for granted. We even don't bother to solve them for decades. But now we have, in this disruptive era, we pick them up. The people with courage pick them up, they peel them off, little by little by little then. And indeed, it creates more problem, but it needs energy, it needs courage, and it needs iteration in small steps, because you can't eat the elephant in one time. You have to chop it in several pieces. So that's what we do. And I have several cases where we never have the utopia that we will solve entire logistic problem in Holland, this tiny country with 17 million people and millions of cars, where the minister has said in 5 years we will lose 30% much more time in traffic. Yeah, that's one of the wicked problems. How to solve? Because if you say you are not allowed to drive anymore, what about the prosperity, the business, the logistics and stuff like that? So it's really wicked, and this is one of our domains we are working for, thinking about innovative ideas, and we're thinking about truck platooning, we're thinking about well, disruptive ideas to use our infrastructure even more optimized, but from another perspective. Well, maybe it resonates. It needs some more explanation maybe, but the answer is yeah, we encountered it. And through our approach and through the energy and through our courage and our flight hours, we little by little peel it off and build it up again.
And I always try to imagine, to add to that, there's never a very big failure. Because if you talk about value cases, you always have to ask yourself the question when you're trying to come up with a solution for a particular challenge. Like, is it worth making this solution if it's fixing the life of one person only? Would you do it? I think yes. I think it's not always about only solving problems for like 1 million people in the meantime, in one time.
But little by little, this is what I mean. So, and be open and be transparent to, well, everyone, that this is not the end solution, but we can stop any time, and it will not be waste of time, because we have learned a lot. The fast fail forward principle, and fail fast cheap, and those principles, apply that as well in the expectation management. So that means after 6 weeks, instead of not having the end solution, what do we have then? Yeah, we have learned that we have well, a prototype where 100 citizens have used it, and they said, well, it's not good. So then kill that prototype, kill your own darling, put it back on the shelf, but at least it will save yourself, and that's another perspective, a lot of reunions with good paid governmental people, which can take for years, yeah, debating about it. That is even more costly than spending 6 weeks on a prototype to discover that's not the right solution. So that's another way on value casing, right? It's not a business case, but everybody can say that is developing a prototype in 6 weeks is much more cheaper than debating about it for several years and not knowing what it would be in real life. Any other questions? Yes, of course. Yes.
You were saying about the HollandHub.
Yeah.
And I tried to find more information about that, but I didn't really.
Yeah, it was just launched this week, so I mean it's freshly born, so it's.
If you could describe in few words what is aimed for, and what we'll be doing, and how it will be the bridge between the Holland and Ukraine, maybe.
We want to bring the best out of Holland and implement it in Ukraine. That's it. The best in terms of innovation, like these gentlemen, in terms of business, like us two, myself and Tim. And in terms of culture, well, you know, there's a pile of great things done in the Netherlands culturally that we can also bring here and show to everybody. So, like, it's three things: it's cultural, business, and innovation exchange.
But in terms of format, what can it be?
Format, I don't know yet. It's more to you to decide.
That's agile, right?
Yeah, that's also agile.
Agile open platform.
Yeah.
And we have a website called HollandHub.net, and we will announce on there how we will proceed from there. Probably we'll have more meetups. We have some forum and we go from there.
Yeah.
So what would you like to expect from it?
Yeah, what would you like to be in? Yes.
From one hand, it's a nice SharePoint of the information, of the culture, of the business, but somehow to make it both sides, not only listening but acting as well. That's the main point.
That would be, for me, you know, we traveled here not to only send and share the story, but as I started, we need you. So I hope the HollandHub can connect us through interested people who not only want to come and visit Waternet, but maybe say, we want to come and visit and help you, because I'm searching for the last 6 months for good people to help us with all those projects. Yeah, like we are the hub in Holland on strategic and programmatic level and operations, but the makeability of things, that's the main challenge of all of us in Holland. Like I said, long-term perspective, no problem, we have that. But short-term, and then, who is going to do it? Well, a huge shortage on good people who really know coding, who really know to handle data, who really can design and work with us. So I think the HollandHub, if I may be so free, could be a very good connection between what we see in Holland. We know the Nordics, we know Benelux, but what we see in Holland, the Baltics, next month we are in Riga, because we see the Baltics and Ukraine like upcoming markets, emerging markets, but really high potential, unused potential. And if somebody could leverage that potential to us and make it easier for us, like, you know, we are not scalable, the two of us. So being here means that I cannot be at 1,000 other places. But if the hub can be a platform that makes this story, what we tell here, scalable, that instead of you, offline, online maybe a couple of hundreds of people, we could reach entire Ukraine. It would be a dream, right? Connect strategy, program, and delivery. I don't know.
Usually means that people are thirsty.
Yeah. It's enough.
Hey, thanks.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
We still have the magazines from us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Slava.
Thank you.